Hello, I'm Bushra Alam. I'm a senior software test engineer. I have about 6 years of experience, and I've worked on tools like Cypress, Playwright, Selenium, APM, GetLink, JMeter, and a few more. I also have provided quite a few trainings, and I've created courses on YouTube and Udemy. And today I'll be walking you through how to integrate your end-to-end test with Azure DevOps. So, before jumping into the demo, let's first understand what is Azure DevOps. In fact, to understand Azure DevOps, we'll start with what is Azure, and then we'll come to what is DevOps, and then finally we'll get to what is Azure DevOps. So what is Azure? Well, Azure is a cloud computing platform provided by Microsoft, and it has services including software as service, infrastructure as service, and platform as service. It is actually more than 200 services and tools under its umbrella. It is known to have limitless potential and unlimited possibilities. Okay, so let's see what DevOps is. So DevOps is a mindset. It isn't a tool or a technology. A more formal definition for DevOps would be DevOps brings together people, processes, and technology, automating software delivery to provide continuous value to your users. So what can DevOps do for your business? Well, it helps in accelerating time to market, adapting to the market and competition. It helps in maintaining system stability and reliability, and it improves the mean time to recovery. So these are very alluring benefits for any organization. Every organization wants them. Okay, so finally we are at what is Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps is a suite of services provided by Azure. They have tools that cater to the entire application lifecycle, and they provide DevOps capabilities. So the tools that are under Azure DevOps are, we have Azure Boards to plan your work, Azure Repos to collaborate on code development, Azure Pipelines to build, test, and deploy your application. We have Azure Test Plans to test your application. This is more towards the manual or the exploratory testing. And then we have Azure Artifacts to publish or share your packages. We will be focusing on Azure Pipelines. So Azure Pipelines, it's in two steps, two phases. So the first one is build. So during the build, we typically download the code from our source code repository. We build our application and we run test. During this phase, we run the unit test. This is done to ensure that there are no breaking changes. And then once we are satisfied with the results, we publish our artifact. Then the next phase is release. During the release phase, we download the artifact that was published by during the build phase. Then we deploy our application and we run test again. But this time we run end-to-end test or regression test. So we will be working with release pipeline. But the main question is, why do we need to run our test in the pipeline, right? So it helps in early discovery of critical bugs. And so the time to fix the defects is, as you can imagine, much less. Then it helps in assessing and improving code quality because we test so often. And then we have faster test results. So the feedbacks are much faster and faster time to market of a high quality product. Okay, so time to go ahead with the demo. So my tests are written in Cypress. This is my test file, and well, I won't go into the details of what these tests do because these are some very basic tests that you get them when you install Cypress. You get a number of files. I've removed all, and I'm just working with the first file here. And there are a number of tests within this file, but I've removed all, and I currently have just 3 tests. Okay. So, and I've pushed my code to GitHub. So this is the repository that holds my project. All right. Now, this is Azure DevOps. So you can go to dev.azure.com and create a free account. A free account is what I'm using right now. So when you create an account on it, it will create an organization for you. So organization is nothing, is just a way to store similar projects. So currently these are the projects that I have in my organization. Let's go ahead and create a new project. So I'll give my project a name. Let's say Azure DevOps Demo. You can give some description and we'll set the visibility. I'll set it to public and we'll hit create. Let's give it some time to create the project. And there we have our project. So like we discussed, Azure DevOps, it provides us with these tools for our project. So we have boards, repos, pipelines, test plans, and artifact. You can go ahead and use all of them or pick any that you would like to use. So like for this project, we are only going to use pipelines. And because we are working with UI test, so we will, add our test to the release pipeline. So let's go ahead with releases. Now we'll add a new pipeline. Let's just close this for a minute. So the first thing we need to do is add an artifact. These are the sources you can add the artifact from. So the the standard way is to build your code in the during the build phase of the pipeline, and then bring that artifact over to the release pipeline. But I'm going to skip that step, and I'm only focusing on the release pipeline. So I'll pick my artifact from GitHub. So let me authorize my account. Okay. And we'll add our repository. So this is the repository that holds our project. We will set the default branch master and the default version to latest from the default branch. So it will pick the latest code from the master branch, and we'll add our artifact. Okay. Now we'll add a stage. So a stage could hold one or more jobs. These are some template jobs that you could start with, but we'll start with an empty job. We can rename our stage. Let's say test, and we'll add. So look, it has added an agent job for us. A job could be an agent job or an agentless job. So let's see what are our specifications for the agent. So this is a Microsoft hosted agent that we are using. You can also create a self-hosted agent and use that to run your pipelines. And then you could set it to Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows. I'll set it to Ubuntu. And okay, let's add steps now. So steps could be a step could either be a task or a script. A task is nothing but a packaged script. So for publishing your report, it has a pre-created task that you can use. So our project is Cypress, right? So it is JavaScript based. So the first thing we are going to do is set the node version. So for that, I'm going to use this task, and Cypress suggests using version 10 or greater, right? Node version 10 or greater. So we'll set it to 12, and I'll add another task now. So once we have our node version set, we would like to install the project dependencies. So if I show you in my package.json, we have just one dependency, Cypress. So we need to install that. So I'll add an npm task. So here the command is install, and we need to set our working folder. So this is my working folder that contains my package.json. I'll add this. We can also rename this. Okay, so this will install the dependencies for us. It will install Cypress, Now, once we have the dependencies there, we need to run our project, right? We need to run our test. So for that, we'll add another npm task. And this time the command will set to custom. And the command would be run test. So if we see in our package.json, I have got this script test, and it says Cypress run. So this is going to run my test. So we are running that script here. Okay, we'll again set the working folder. Okay, and let's update the name. Okay, looks good. All right, so once we have our test executed, we need to generate a report, right? So like I said, we have a task for that. So that is publish test results, right? I'll add it. So when I'm running my test locally, I prefer to generate an HTML report. But unfortunately, it doesn't have HTML as a supported result format. So instead, we'll go with JUnit. And in my project, if we go to cypress.json, I've set the reporter as JUnit, and my reporter options are, this is going to be the name of our file, and it is going to be placed under the results folder. So let's copy this. And also I haven't explicitly installed Mocha JUnit reporter because that is included with Cypress. So here, let's change it to our file name, and instead of hash we'll put a star, and our search folder would be just copying from here. So it is going to be the default working directory, and then the name of our project, and then results folder. I'll drop results from here. Okay. And we can give a run test title. So let's say, and another thing that we need to do is in the control options, we have run this task, which is currently set to only when all previous tasks have succeeded, right? Which makes sense for a lot of tasks. But for this particular one, we would like to generate our report even when we have failing test, right? So we would like to set it to even if a previous task has failed, unless the deployment was cancelled. We also have even if the deployment was cancelled, so you can pick any. All right, so let me drop this. Okay, we'll save this. So these are the things that we are doing. We are setting the node version, we are installing our project dependencies, we are running our test, and finally we are publishing our results. So I think we are good to create a release. Let's go ahead with that. So this is my artifact. It is taking the latest one, and we'll hit create. So it says release 1 has been created. Let's go to this release. And it is queued. Let's go to the logs. So it is currently preparing the agent for us. And let's give it some time. Okay, so now it is initializing the jobs. It is downloading the artifacts. It has set the node version to 12, and now it is installing the dependencies. So it takes about 30 seconds. In fact, the reason I used Ubuntu instead of Windows was because in Ubuntu it is much faster. It takes about 30 seconds, whereas if we use Windows, it's close to 5 minutes. All right, so our dependencies have been added, and now it's running our test. We'll give it some time to finish. So it shows these logs, and you can also download the logs from here if you would like to go through the logs. Alright, so it has executed our test and now it is publishing our report and done. Okay, now to see the report, we'll head over to the tests tab. So it says 1 run completed. There were 3 tests in total, and all of them passed percentage 100%, and the duration for our test run. And let's clear it. So this is our test one, and these were our tests. You can click on any to see more details. Okay, so this is nice. Let's head back to our task. Okay, so by default, Cypress wants the test in Electron browser. But say you would like to specify a browser you would like to run your test in Chrome. So we can add that here. We'll set the browser to Chrome, and we want the test to run headlessly. And if you run this, the tests are going to run in Chrome. And similarly, you can add another task to run test in Firefox. But let's say we want to run our test in multiple browsers and we want them to run parallelly, right? Because it makes sense to run them parallelly. So let's see how we can run test parallelly. If I go to my agent, let's collapse this. So under execution plan, we have got parallelism. Currently, it is set to none. If I see the info, it says for none, task will run on a single agent. That is what has been happening, right? So for multi-configuration, it says run the same set of tasks on multiple configurations as specified by the multiplier. Configurations will run in parallel and each configuration will use a single agent. So that's what we want, right? So we'll set it to multi-configuration and we'll set a multiplier. So this is nothing, it's just a variable. And the number of agents will set to 2 because we want to run in Chrome and Firefox. And in the free Azure DevOps account, it gives you 10 agents to run parallelly. So that's the limit. Now we'll create this variable. So we'll go to variables tab and we'll add it as a pipeline variable. That's our variable, and the value would be Chrome, Firefox. Okay, let's go back. We'll save this. And in our okay, so in our run test, instead of hard coding our browser, we'll provide the multiplier. So that's browser. Okay, and in our title also, we'll add the browser so that we are, we get to know which test run was for which browser. Okay, so let's save it and let's create a release. Create. Go to logs. So look, now we have got 2 agents, one for Chrome, another one for Firefox. So it is currently initializing both the agents together. So it has started on, look, it is running our test on both Chrome and Firefox parallelly. So which is nice, right? So let's just cancel it for now. And what we will do is we'll also run a failing test so that we get to know what happens when a test is failing. What details do we get? So I'll create a release again. Let me just verify. In my control options, I have even if the task fails, right? So we'll create a release. And this time I'm going to pick up older copy of my code which has a failing test. So we'll create a release with this. And again, it is running for both Chrome and Firefox parallelly. So we'll have to give this some time. So when you have multiple tests, like say 100 or more than that, You can imagine how much time this can save. And currently we are running tests parallelly based on the browser, but we could also say we just want to run all our tests in Chrome, but we would still like to run them parallelly. So you can create a script to split them up into half and half so that they execute parallelly. Takes its own sweet time. Okay, so our test failed as expected. Let's wait for Firefox. It's done. Okay, let's head over to the test tab. So it says 2 runs, and there were 6 tests in total. 4 of them passed, 2 failed. Okay, so these are the details of the tests that are failing. So we have the stack trace, the error message here, and you could also see the history of, like here it says it was passing here and then started to fail. So that could be really helpful. And what else can we do is we can create a bug as well right from here. So we can create a bug. So here, there's the description and sorry. It also attaches the report here. You could, I think, add your own attachments as well, and then you can go ahead and create a bug. So that's very handy as well. I'm not going to go ahead with that. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so right now what we have been doing is we have been triggering our build manually, right? We have been running our test manually. We are running the pipeline manually. So instead, you could also set a trigger. We can enable the continuous deployment. So it every time there is a git push, it is going to create a release pipeline. And you could add the branches on which you would like to set the trigger on. Then you could also schedule your test from here, schedule the pipeline from here. So say you would like to run your test every day at 6 a.m. in the morning or whatever, right? You could do it at the complete pipeline level or at the stage level as well from here. Okay. All right, so that's it for this demo. I hope you find it useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Bushra. I've never seen Azure Pipeline, heard a lot about it. So thank you for that amazing talk. We have lots of questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. One of the biggest problems in CI systems and pipelines like that is the speed of tests. So how can we cache the NPM module pipeline so that the NPM install will be faster?
Right, that's a good question. So we have a task available for that, cache. So using that, we can cache the node modules. So that can be done.
So great. How to run Cypress parallel tests in the Azure pipeline?
So I did discuss how to run tests parallelly based on your browsers, right? If you're working with different browsers, how to run the test parallelly for both the browsers. But in case you are running on a single browser and you would still want to split the test so that they can run parallelly, that can also be done. We will have to write a script for that so that it can split the test in how soever many sections you want, and it will run parallelly based on your specifications.
Great, thank you. Now there's a question which I'm not familiar with the term. Can we use Allure reports in Cypress and Azure?
Yeah, so Allure reports are HTML based, and Azure DevOps currently doesn't support HTML reports. So, but what we can do instead is you could still generate the test report through your framework, and we can attach it as a resource, and you could download it, along with the logs. So you'll still have your report available. So that is one way you could, in case you, yeah.
Great, thanks. There are two questions. So HTML test results are not supported.
Yes, right. That's right. And HTML reports are, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Somebody asked if you're working for Bechtel or Azure. So, and if for Azure, whether they will be supported at some time. So just so we'll be sure who you're working for.
Okay, I'm working for Bechtel. I'm not working with Microsoft.
Okay. Okay. How to publish test results and attach screenshots of failed tests in Azure.
Right. So again, because we are using JUnit reporter, so it doesn't, attaches these screenshots automatically in the test tab. Again, if you want the screenshots or the videos, you can have it in the along with the logs. You can capture them and have them downloaded along with the logs.
Okay. Another question: is there any specific reason you're using releases and not the pipeline YAMLs?
Okay. Well, I thought UI would be more, visually. It would be easier for everybody to follow along, because YAML, people might not follow YAML so well if they are not familiar with it. So that's the reason I picked UI over YAML. But you can definitely choose any based on whatever you are comfortable with.
So I'm guessing the releases generates YAML, or is it like a separate thing? This is my question.
Right. So pipelines can be created in by either the visual, the classic editor, that is the visual way, or you could write code to create your pipeline. So that is YAML. So it could be done either ways.
Okay. I'm not sure. What are the costs for Azure DevOps pipelines? I'm not sure you're the right person to answer that, but maybe.
Okay, so it does have a free plan, and that is what I was using there. And but it has paid plans as well. That it increases the number of parallel jobs that you can run, and things of that sort. But even the free plan, I think, is good enough to start with. You have up to 10 parallel jobs that can be executed with the even on the free plan. So I think it's good to start with.
And that answers the next question: can it handle running tests in parallel?
Yes, it can.
Great. Any advantage of using Azure DevOps versus other things like Circle CI, GitHub Actions, Travis, except that there is a UI to build your workflow?
Well, I mean, I would say that Azure is quite popular. I recently read that about 95% of the companies, Fortune 500 companies, use Azure. So I think that's one of the good reasons to go with Azure DevOps.
Great. So if you're comfortable with Azure and you're using Azure anyway, Azure DevOps is the natural choice.
Right.
Is there any way we can share the test reports with the team?
With the team, well, I mean, I think you can give access to the pipeline to your QA team, and so they will be able to access it from here. You could also, I think, email the reports, and then we have also. I was working with the Azure Pipelines, but the reports are also available in the test plans tab. That is, mostly used by the QA. So that's one place you could access the reports from.
Great. Oh, this is an interesting one. What are unit tests and end-to-end tests?
All right. So unit tests are basically usually written by developers, and they are meant. They are, the purpose of unit tests is to test a single module, a unit of code. And whereas end-to-end test, it is more focused on the flow of the application and the UI. The testing, your functional testing is UI testing, is end-to-end testing. So broadly,
Great.
that's what difference is.
So Cypress component testing is basically, I'll add to that, Cypress component testing is basically a unit testing way. It's testing one component or two components or something like that. And when you're testing the whole application, that's end-to-end. Thank you. Do you have to use the UI to build the jobs, or can it be done via YAML? Well, we can answer
Absolutely.
that again.
Yeah. Right. So any could be used, either YAML or the visual editor.
Oh, can we just run end-to-end tests without running the whole process, like build and release?
Absolutely. That is what I was doing there. Yes, so we can do that.
Great. Oh, I see somebody answered them. Okay, let's see. Is there advantage of using this over Bamboo or Jenkins pipeline? I think we've already answered that. How can we download test PDF files using Firefox browser? I know it works for Electron Chrome browser, but not Firefox because of course origin errors. Wow, that is a very specific question.
I'm not sure if it's related to Azure DevOps. I didn't follow the equation properly. Could you please repeat it?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood that question, I have to admit. How do you distribute tests to run in parallel?
Right. So, using the multiplier was one of the ways, or you could write a script to split your test.
Great. Is there an easy way to post the test results to Slack? A lot of people use Slack. So is there a Slack integration?
Honestly, I'm not aware.
Okay. I think that's about it, except for that the person that is asking about GitHub Actions versus Azure DevOps. But have you any experience with both?
GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps. I'm sorry, I haven't used GitHub Actions much to compare both.
Great. Thank you, Bushra. I think
thank you very much.
We're done with the questions. Yes, we've answered all of the questions. Thank you, Bushra.
Thank you.